So welcome to this mini yoga practice where we're going to be focusing on yoga for stressful times. We probably know that stress is an inevitable part of life, but we perhaps also know that yoga can really help us to deal with those stressful times. So this is a short little practice that hopefully you could fit in to your day. Stressful times can often be when we're super busy and we feel like we have no time for things like yoga and mindfulness. So this is just a short little practice to hopefully bring you back into a state of ease and calm, and then able to approach life from that perspective. So this will be a yin yoga practice. It would be great if you could gather some props. So just simply a couple of pillows would work absolutely fine. If you have a bolster, great. And also a blanket or two. And then once you have all of that, come to lie on your back. So finding a place where you can rest comfortably. So that might mean bringing the pillows or the bolster underneath the knees so that the lower back can really release. Or you might find just simply bending the knees, soles of the feet on the mat, maybe feet a little bit wider than the hips so that the knees can gently touch and you can really allow yourself to release down. And then you could see if the shoulders are maybe kind of up around the ears. They often are in stressful times. So could you just roll them down and away? And then maybe just dropping the chin towards the chest as well, so the back of the neck is nice and long. I'm feeling that you can really rest here. You might have the hands, the arms a little bit away from the body, or you might even rest them on the body. That can sometimes be quite soothing. So feel into what is going to be right for you. And then as you begin to physically settle the body, take some longer, deeper breaths. So really breathing deeply through the nose, as if the breath was moving towards belly. And on the out breath, just open the mouth and release, maybe with a little bit of sound. Just feeling that you can really let go into this space. And you might do that a couple of times so that you can begin to settle into this posture and settle into being here. And perhaps getting a sense that the out breath can really allow the body to release into the earth. Sense that the earth can support your body here. You might close the eyes, but if that doesn't feel comfortable, just keep a soft gaze. And really checking in with how you are as you rest here. Seeing if you can welcome all that you're sensing and feeling. Noticing how the physical body is as it lies on the earth. Noticing all the thoughts that might be moving through the mind. When we're stressed, it can often feel like the thoughts are looping, sometimes quite destructive. And we may just get a sense that we want them to stop. And often that's impossible. So it's futile to even try. So instead, we can just let the thoughts carry on in the background. Let them be. Just not identifying with them or engaging with them. And then get a sense of a kind of mood that might be there, or any emotions that might be there. How are you feeling? And if you come to this class feeling stressed, just note feeling stressed. kind of giving it permission to be here, not needing to change it or do anything else with it, going, yeah, I'm stressed, recognizing it. And then coming back to feeling the breath in the body. And now we're going to do a count with the breath. So as you breathe in, count to 3 or 4 on the inhale. And as you breathe out, just see if you can create an equal breath, an equal count. Just doing that for a few rounds and see how that is, see how that feels. And even as you do this, the mind might wander. And when it does, just know that there's nothing wrong. This is what the mind does. And again, particularly when we're stressed, we might feel like there's no way we can settle the mind. So we just notice what kind of thoughts are there. And we have the intention of coming back to breath, coming back to count. We might find we need to do that a little bit more often. And let that be okay. Have a sense of allowing here. And then after a while, just see if it's possible to allow the out breath to become a little bit longer. And that could literally be just 1 count or 2 count longer than the inhale. It doesn't need to be your longest out breath. Just seeing what's possible. And then at the end of your next out breath, just let the breath return to its natural rhythm. And if you still feel as we move through this practice that the mind is very busy or there's no way you can settle, come back to this breath. Counting the breath in and out, and if possible, lengthening the out breath, because that has a deep effect on the nervous system. Kind of like little messages to the body that it's okay. It's okay to be here in this space at this time. Just allowing it all to be as it is. And then when you're ready, have a little bit of movement through the fingers and through the toes. So just like a gradual waking up. And when it feels like the right moment, bend into the knees and draw the knees into the belly, the chest. And you might just hug the knees. That might feel very comforting and you just want to squeeze in. Or you might want to have a little rock side to side. Or you might want to circle the knees and move the hips. So just check in. There really is no right or wrong here. It's just what the body feels like it needs in this moment. And if you're circling, you might want to circle then in the other direction as well. And then we're going to create a butterfly pose, lying down. So if you have your pillows, you could bring one either side of the knees. It's not essential. You might not need it, but you could check in and see if it's right for you. So a pillow either side of the legs, coming to lie back down, have the soles of the feet together, and then allow the knees to drop open and hopefully connect with the props. If you need extra props, maybe if you have any books or something that you could put between the thighs to the outsides of the thighs, then do that as well. And then with the arms, it's really your choice. You could just keep them close to the body, on the body. But for an extra shoulder opener, you could bring the arms into cactus arms, just out to the side, so the hand maybe shoulder height. Or for something a bit stronger, you could take opposite elbows. But trying to find a place where you can rest into. So hands way overhead is probably going to be pretty intense. So be in a place that you can relax with. So with our Yin Yoga practice, it can be that we need to try and find that place in between a kind of deep opening, a deep stretch in the body, and then also a place where we can rest in. So kind of somewhere in between. So finding that for yourself. And it really isn't about what the pose looks like, but how it feels in the body and how much you want to open the body today. It might be that, things are pretty tight in the body. It can often be when we're stressed. We hold a lot of tension. So actually going straight into a big opener might just be too much today. So back away and let that be okay. And we'll hold this posture for 4 minutes. We're already half a minute through, so just know that you'll be here for a little while, and that's really the reason why it's so important to be aware of our edge and how it feels in the body, because we want to be able to relax here, even though there might be a deep stretch. So it can be useful to come back to the breath, feeling the breath in the body again. Counting if you find that useful. Often it gives the mind something to do, something to focus on. And then seeing if it's possible to lengthen the out breath. Bit by bit, no force. Might just happen quite naturally, quite organically. And after a while, you might even leave the count and open your awareness to more of the body and how the body is. And seeing if there are any tight spots, any parts of the body that are holding or gripping. And seeing if it's possible, just with your awareness, to soften around those places. Bit by bit. No hurry here. Not trying to get to any particular place. Seeing where it's possible to release. Coming towards the end of our 4 minutes. So just notice how you feel. Take a few longer, deeper breaths. Maybe there's that sigh out through the mouth on the exhale. A real releasing, letting go. And then when you feel ready, you could reach the hands down to take the outsides of the thighs, the knees, and help the legs to come back together again. And you might want to just simply pause and rest there for a few breaths. You might want to lift the pelvis, just slightly lengthening the lower back. Or you might want to rock the knees side to side, or even hug the knees in. But taking care with this, when you come out of these yin poses, really feeling and seeing where the body needs to be. Again, no rush. And then when you're ready, you can roll over to one side to come up, or roll on the length of the spine. And for our next posture, we'll create a supported back bend. So it's really great if you have a couple of pillows or your bolster, so whatever you kind of got available. So one pillow on top of the other. And what can be really useful here is to create a little bit of a gap between the next thing that you put on top. You might even then layer that. So sometimes it's quite nice to then have a blanket on top. Sometimes then you could, if you have a cushion, lots of props, you could then have something for the head as well. So when we get into this, we want to make sure that the lower back is happy and it's going to be able to stay here. You could even consider lifting this and bringing maybe a book or a yoga brick, if you have one, to just underneath. So you get less of a back bend. So it just might depend where the body is today and where you want to go. So really then sitting back, once you've got your little pile of props, drawing them all in to the lower back, to the lower pelvis, and then rolling over, coming down and finding a place where you feel comfortable. And really, this one should feel like heaven when you come into this. And I can feel a little bit here that my lower back is not that happy. So what I like to do is press the soles of the feet into the mat, lift the pelvis, lengthen the lower back, and then bring it all back down. And then that just feels so much nicer for me. So feel how that is for you. You could always come back up, adjust your props, come back down, make sure it's comfortable. Roll the shoulders away from the head. Allow the arms to be out to the side, palms facing up. Or of course, if it feels more comfortable, have the hands on the body. And if you have an eye pillow or a scarf to go over the eyes, that can be an added welcome. So really allow your gaze to turn inwards. And that can often be one of the best things that we can do when we think about kind of wanting to reduce the stress in our life, is becoming aware of it. So really knowing what the stress feels like in our body, not ignoring it, and then doing something about it when it comes along, because it will come in. And almost having these tools in your bag that you know really help you to come back into a centered place, to find that equilibrium, if you like, to find that ease. So for this posture, we'll be here for a little bit longer, maybe 5 minutes. We're already half a minute in. So really resting in. Again, the coming back to breath is always useful. And those long out breaths. From an evolutionary perspective, stress is not necessarily a bad thing. It's helped us survive to this point. Our ancestors would have used it to be able to get out of trouble. But of course, nowadays in our modern world, we can find that we stay within that stress response, that fight or flight response for too long. It's like we've forgotten how to move out of it. So our pranayama, our breathing can really help us send those messages to the nervous system that it's okay. We're basically okay in this moment. Long out breaths, relaxing the body, letting the body be fully held and supported by the earth and the props. And as ever, you might find that the mind is whirling, looping, still quite busy. Again, nothing wrong. Just noticing where the mind tends to go. Note that, and then come back to breath and body. Eckhart Tolle says that stress is caused by being here but wanting to be there, or being in the present but wanting to be in the future. So the more that we can bring ourselves back to presence and back to being here, the more we can start to dissolve some of that stress, and however it manifests in the body. Coming towards the end of our 5 minutes here, you could take some longer, deeper breaths again. And then when you feel ready, a little bit of movement, maybe again, that's moving the fingers, moving the toes. And to come out of this one, depending on how it feels for you, you might want to roll off your props rather than come up the way you went in, because you might be quite relaxed into that. Maybe rolling off, moving your props out of the way, and then coming back to lie on your back. And what might be helpful here to release this is to just keep the soles of the feet on the mat and have the feet wider than the hips. And maybe just press the feet into the mat, lift the pelvis, lengthen the lower back, and bring it all back down. And you might want to then move the knees side to side. And just like a gradual releasing of this pose. You could also just choose to be completely still. And there will be some days when that is exactly what we need. Stillness. Our lives can be so busy moving from one thing to the next that this stopping is actually all we need. And then when you're ready, we'll do one short little pose before we settle into a brief Shavasana. So lying on your back, bring the knees in towards the chest, the belly. Knees wide, reach between the knees to take hold of the ankles. So your happy baby pose. But just stay with holding the ankles for now, even if you normally bring the feet into the air. Just keep it really soft. Allow the shoulders to rest down and away from the head and really nestle into the earth. I'm really feeling that the spine is becoming long. That's what we want to create here, this nice long spine. And maybe even tracing your awareness from the tailbone all the way along the length of the spine to the back of the neck. A few long, deep breaths. And then the next time that you exhale, release the legs and move into a Shavasana. So that could just be soles of the feet on the mat, pillows under the knees, or simply just legs long. Feel into what is going to be right for you. The hands could be away from the body or they could rest on the body. So what would be right? And really try not to skip this one, as so many people do. I even am terrible for doing this at the end of my practice, thinking, oh, I can just get on with my day. Really try to see Shavasana as a pose, just like any other. It's often said that it's one of the most important. So let yourself just fully rest here. Just a couple of minutes. You've got that in your day. Letting the back of the head really rest down into the earth. Let the features of the face soften, particularly around the eyebrows, the jaw. Let the shoulder blades rest into the earth. Feeling the muscles either side of the spine connecting down. The back of the pelvis, the buttocks, really resting. And the legs or the feet, arms and hands, all held and supported here. Nothing to do in this moment. Nothing to fix. Nothing to change. Just being here now. You can, of course, stay here for as long as you like. But if you're ready to come out, have a little bit of movement through the fingers and toes again, drawing the knees in. And when you're ready, rolling over to one side to just come up to sit. And when you do that, you might want to just keep the gaze soft or the eyes closed. And all that does is just keeps the awareness in for a little bit longer. You could bring the hands over the heart, or you could bring them into prayer. And just be aware of your practice. Aware of this time for you on your mat. Honoring this time, recognizing the benefits for yourself, but also those around you, so that when you step up and move away from your mat, you take these benefits with you and you share them with those around you. So thank you for your practice.